Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and personal performance in the workplace. And today I have some very special guests who I met at the recent C2 Montreal conference on business innovation. It's really a unique conference that takes place every year in Montreal. And there I met with Alexia, Young Lin, say hi guys, and Sean, who are all high school students. And I asked them to join me on this call so I could ask them some questions about their generation. And I guess one of the reasons is because I was on a plane not too long ago coming back from a conference in Atlanta, and I read this article about the next generation called the Generation Z and what it's going to be like working with this generation in the workplace. And the, I guess, older part of this generation is actually graduating this year from college or university. So they're going to be entering the workplace, but actually maybe even you guys are already in the workplace in summer jobs or whatever, but not full time. So when I met these three wonderful people, and we had a great conversation at the conference, I thought it would be great to have them in on this, do an interview, and find out if what's written in this article is actually resonates with what these guys feel and are looking for in terms of who they want to work with, what type of companies, what type of environment really is what it's all about, what type of company. And so maybe just to introduce yourselves, tell us, start with Alexia, what you're doing now, what grade you're in, and just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So my name's Alexia. I'm in grade 11 and I'm attending high school in Toronto. Okay. And currently I am doing some research in artificial intelligence and mixed reality because I want to develop my own software and system for educational.
Fabulous. Yang Lin?
Hi, I'm Yan Ling. I go to Don Mills Collegiate Institute in Toronto, and I'm currently in grade 10. Two areas I'm interested in and focusing on right now are artificial intelligence and neurotech. So I'm interested in doing a project involving both those areas.
Cool. Very good. Sean?
So I'm Sean. I'm grade 9. I go to Upper Canada College, and I'm really interested in life sciences and sort of a cross-section between life sciences and some of the newer technologies available, like artificial intelligence. I'm working on two main projects right now. The first is repurposing glucagon into a more user-friendly and time-efficient format. And the other is trying to utilize the brain's neural networks to determine an optimal range for cognitive performance for type 1 diabetics. So they can better, I guess, that could help them determine when they are at their best. And when, for example, my sister, who is also who is type 1 diabetic, when she can and when she cannot write tests, just to see what's an accurate representation of what she can do.
So that's interesting that, you, Sean, it sounds like you all want to make a difference with the type of work you will be doing. So that's one of the questions I had. How important is it or will it be for you to work for a company that has a social agenda that resonates with you, that has, wants to make a social impact to improve humanity, let's say? Start with you, Alicia.
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, it's definitely a 10.
Okay.
The world is ever changing. We all know this, but we have to work together to be able to actually accomplish a change. So for the company that I'd be working for in the future, if they make it one of their prerogatives to be involved with their community, then I definitely see a future for the company. And I'm going to be representing the company, and the company's also going to be representing me if I were to quit, or if my contract had finished and I went to some other job, they're going to see that, and making sure that the company left a mark on the society is really something that is important with me.
Okay. Yang Ling?
A term that our generation frequently uses is woke, and I think that is a word that we can use to describe the students, the Generation Z children who are going to the workforce. Because for me, finding a company that has a lot of the same values as I do is very important. I want to work for a company that I believe is making a difference. I would not want to work for a company that I know is potentially engaging in activities that are harmful to the environment, as that goes against my personal values. So it's very important for a company to have corporate social responsibility, because that's something that our generation really values when they're finding a suitable workplace.
Interesting. Sean, what's your take on this?
I think that obviously having a company that aligns with the same values as you is essential towards having a good work experience. But I also think that having a company that solves problems worth solving. For example, there's this company that's working on actually tracking the patterns within the ocean to actually trap plastic in a very concentrated environment. That's a problem we're solving that'll really help humanity as a whole. And I would rather work for a company like that versus a company such as Facebook, where they're solving, obviously they're helping people stay connected, but a more global problem with a bigger impact is definitely something I want to invest my time in. And just to that point, I think there's one point that I really want to emphasize here, that's younger people are sort of being under-recognized for their talents and just being passed off as young. And I think that's one thing that many companies, and I think some of the most innovative companies, they're getting, this is being brought to their attention, and they're sort of realizing that age should not be a barrier between talents and skill and who they ultimately acquire to be in their company. And I think on the corporate side of things, that's one realization that needs to be made for Gen Z especially, because we all have access to the same information nowadays. It's just a matter of who can make the most impact with the information that we have. And I think regardless of age, that's one commonality between us all that needs to be emphasized by companies in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's some of that transcends age. And I know for myself, I'd rather work for a company that, my values resonate with, and that are doing something that's, contributing to the betterment, like I said before, of humanity. So that can transcend age, but it sounds like it is something that's very important to your generation. So let me just jump to another question here. And actually, that's something that is spoken about in this, or written about in this article. So far, it's you're validating what he's saying in the article. In terms of a work environment, like I know some of you, or perhaps all of you, are envisioning working for yourselves at one point. I know, Alexia, you expressed that to me. But, in terms of a type of an environment that you would like to work in, what would be an environment that would be, interesting for you? And when I mean an environment, like what type of facility? Well, let me get to a more pointed question. Would you prefer working in an open office type environment, or having your own space where you could just really focus in on what you need to do?
Okay, so I guess I'll take the question first. I personally would like to work in an open office.
Okay.
And one that is tech savvy and up to date and isn't running on like Windows 7 or like whatever they're using now. I don't know. I use a Mac, so. But
Windows 10.
Okay.
I use Windows, except for my phone. Yeah.
It's for me. I enjoy working where I can see other people and where I can hear other people, but the noise is kept to a minimum. I've visited a lot of open concept workspaces, and I've enjoyed the way that I see people working together. It's a lot more of a community type of feel, which I enjoy. And for me personally, I feel that working in a cubicle wouldn't allow me to be productive with my team because I'm not really with them in the moment. I'm on my own and then bringing my stuff to them. And then from there, we're connecting the dots. Whereas in an open environment, you can maybe shout across the room and say like, oh, Sean, can you just double check my code? And then you can double check it, and everything kind of more syncs together when you're in an open environment. So that for me is open workspace is what connects the best.
Yangling?
Yeah, I would agree that open environments are really important, especially for collaboration and for promoting creativity. But at times, it can get a bit loud. And if you're working on a specific task, you might want to have a space where you're able to concentrate on that. So I think it's important for startups and companies to have these open environments, as well as areas where people can go into smaller rooms and focus on a task either by themselves or with a team.
Okay, Sean?
So I'm just on a personal note, I'm very loud, and I find that just having people around me sort of helps to keep me in check, because if not, I sort of just get into my own zone, which is good at sometimes. But I find that if I've got people to just bounce ideas off and stuff, that's really good for me. But at the same token, I think that the most innovative companies and some of the coolest companies that I've seen, it's reflected in their workspace as well. And what I mean by that is they have a workspace that's catered to everyone. This isn't where it's all cubicles or it's all open rooms. This is a balance, so anyone can find a place that fits them best. If you like working in predominantly like closed cubicle spaces that are very quiet, then they've got that for you. If you want to work at a round table desk with 10 other people, they've got that for you. And that sort of open concept, like nothing set in stone environment, really also helps to emphasize the goals of the company to be innovative. For example, Shopify, Facebook, I've seen their offices in Toronto, and there's just so much variety within the workspaces in their offices that it makes you wonder how everyone gets their work done, and it makes you think like this spot is definitely a place for me. And I think everyone who works there sooner or later finds a spot that works best for them. And I think that should be the goal of companies, is not to have people fit into the system, but have the system work around the people.
So it sounds like collaboration is important to all of you, but that you recognize there's a need that you need some alone time to really focus in on.
Yeah.
What about management style or leadership style? What would you say would be a style of management that you would prefer in a company? Management style or leadership style. On one end, you have very democratic, and on the other end, you have very controlling. So what style? I think I know the answer, but I just want to hear your input on that. Let's go back to you, Alexia.
Definitely democratic. Actually, I've learned about this. I took a course for leadership, and this was one of the things that we did talk about. And I felt that the democratic style of leading a group was a lot more successful in producing solid work. And this was because everybody's ideas were passed through and manipulated and changed if need be. And a lot of positive feedback would come, would circulate within the group, which allowed a group to be able to flourish and blossom and develop over time. And I thought that was the most important type of relationship that you can have in team building, because as you grow as a group, your ideas begin to connect more often so that everybody's beginning to think on the same wavelength and you end up being more productive. So like using the democratic leadership style is definitely, for me, I think a key tool that a lot of companies should be getting on board with, instead of having it being more authoritarian, where it's here's your task, do your task, and then once you're done, like get back to me. That's something you definitely need to have, even when there is a leader and there's other people who are working or listening or doing the typing. But it can't just be a serve basis. It has to be serve, receive, back, and then we'll all serve it together. More like team building type of deal.
Great. I say I said democratic, but what I promote is more participative style of leadership, where you get people's input and you don't necessarily make all decision making democratic, but you get people to give their input as much as you can. What about you, Youngling? What's your take?
Yeah, like you said, I think participative leadership style is the best one, because then employees like us, we feel like we have a stake in the company and we care more about the company as a result. And I think it's really important for companies in this age to recognize that their employees have really good ideas. We're not just there to crunch numbers. We're there to offer our input and perhaps better methods and better solutions. So if you have a really autocratic leader, that really caps us and we're not able to actually demonstrate our potential and perhaps offer some insights into how we could improve the business. So especially with our generation, from a young age, we're taught to think differently and to look at different approaches to the same problems. And I think it's really important for us to have that outlet to express our ideas, because in the end, it helps the business as a whole.
Cool. Great. Sean?
I think that the whole purpose of hiring people in your company is to get people that add the most value. And I think that ideally, the management style should reflect that and should value each employee as much as possible. And I think we're sort of forgetting that, in the sense that you really want people on your team who you can trust enough to be able to do whatever task you want them to do. And this isn't what you want them to do. This is, for example, you tell them, if you were the CEO, you'd say, we want to really help increase brand profits for X, Y, and Z. And that's the key element, is you can help outline the problem, but with giving them the solution and confining them to a certain area, that's the mistake that many employers and many management teams make. And I think that if you really want to get the biggest value out of the people on your employee team who you trust, then you really need to outline a clear problem, but you can't give them you can help them along the way, but you can't give them the outright confines of how to solve this problem, because it's human ingenuity and human creativity that ultimately gets the best solutions to these problems, and will definitely help you, your company, and your employees achieve their full potential and really build that trust in the relationships as well. So you're not only helping with the company's profit, the company's revenue, the company's just general impact on society, you're also helping within relationships in between the company, because everyone's adding value, everyone's contributing, and everyone feels like their input is being heard.
Great. Fantastic. So I'm just going to ask you one more question, because I know, Alexia, you need to get going. What question came to mind was about job descriptions. Job descriptions can be seen as very constrictive or constraining, or they can provide clarity depending on how they're used. So how do you guys feel about job descriptions, in a company? How would you like to see them applied if you were going to be working for an ideal employer? Let's go back to you, Alexia.
Not vague.
Okay.
I'd love if they outlined the previous experience I'd need to have, my education, what the job would entail, the hours, just the basics of like what you normally see for a job description is what I have in mind. Recently, I was on LinkedIn and I came across a job offering, and it was being provided by the government of Canada for the Innovation Council leads. And it was interesting because I was really interested in the position because I thought that it fit my personality, and the experience that they were talking about was like
It's
1 to 2
10:30.
years of experience with innovative ideas and being able to drive. Okay, I have my G2, I'm capable. Being that you live in Ontario. Okay, so that fits me. And then later on, I found that, okay, so here's the education. I have to have like a bachelor's in business, and I have to have completed high school. So it would be great if for me personally, if I saw the values that they're putting on education first, and then the job description, because I'm finding now, me myself, I'd love to go to university. That's what I plan on doing post-secondary. But I know other people who are going straight into workforce, and a lot of our generation is heading in different paths, going into entrepreneurship. You need high school. You don't necessarily have to go to university or to college. And getting a job during your gap year, there are positions that you want to be open to, but you aren't informed or can't apply for them as of yet, because when you found them, the job description is so large and like vast and extension that the education is placed at the bottom, which is a bit concerning to me. And then, so the job description just can't be vague. It has to be able to underline what I'd be taking on in the job. And sometimes I find that although for some people it's not important for them to know where they're working or like what the workplace would really be, I would like to know, okay, am I working in an open environment? Is it like a more older fashioned office space where it is only cubicles? Is it primarily group work? Does the job involve me moving from building to building, campus to campus? I've looked at multiple job descriptions, and there's things like that they seem to be missing. So it's small details that matter to me, and also the level of importance of the education that the job is entitling.
Cool. Thank you. Yang Ling?
I think it's how we think about job descriptions that needs to change. Right now, they're very concrete and they don't offer a lot of room for you to change. They say you need this degree, you need 2 years of experience. And I feel that it's good to have an outline, but I don't think that they should be really strict on that. I think a job description is more of a recommendation, and that for each employee, their role can change depending on what skills they have, and how we think about employees has to change in the future. It's not this employee has to do this task and this task. It's we want a person that can fulfill this role, but perhaps we'll hire 3 different people and their strengths are in different areas of that role. So I feel like job descriptions shouldn't force you to, you should have this degree, you should have this experience, because that cuts off a lot of qualified people who perhaps haven't gone through that. For example, for a lot of high school students like us that are looking for internships right now, they require you to be a university student. They require you to have previous experience. And although a lot of us are just as qualified or even more qualified, because of those restrictions in the job description, we're not able to apply. And that's really cutting off some really incredible talent out there.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. And Sean?
I think that the most important thing that we're not recognizing in job descriptions right now is that we're outlining what we think is the best route for you to take, but we're limiting your creativity on how you might solve the problems that we're trying to help you solve. So I think that in a job description, it would be much better if you actually outline the major goals that you would like to get out of this role. So say in a marketing role, marketing assistant, maybe increase brand profits by 25%. And if you outline this goal, then they can actually use their creativity and the skills they have learned and the skills they have spent so many years practicing and actually put them to use, as opposed to filling these like page-long requirements of what's considered acceptable within the realm of the company. Because people are truly themselves when they're working on the problems where they're actually using all of their brain power, as opposed to filling in some role just to look good in the eyes of the company, but not actually accomplishing what they know they can do.
That's interesting. Yeah. So include more of the how much, or than just not just the what, but how well and how much.
And I think the goals are important because that also, like, if goals supersede the requirements that need to be fulfilled, then you can get talent, because I think qualifications are a little bit that companies rank them a little bit too high in order of importance, because ultimately, if you're, say, Mark Zuckerberg, he dropped out of university. If you needed a university major to do whatever he might have wanted to do, well, now he's the CEO of Facebook, and he's looking down on those people. And I think that it's important to not herd people into this category of where you think you'll find the best talent as an employer, but based on their qualifications, but actually look outside the box, because when you look outside the box, that's when you find the most creative and the brightest minds with the most intelligent and ultimately the best ways to approach a problem.
Wow, that's good insight. Well, we could go on, I guess, a long time, but I think you've given a very good perspective on how you see what would be appealing to your generation along certain topics in this conversation. And I'm quite kind of in awe of how well you guys, your insight, your intelligence, how well you express yourselves. Of course, I guess that's why you were invited to the C2 Montreal conference, along with the fact that you're all very interested in artificial intelligence, which was one of the key themes of this past conference. So I know we're going to hear great things or see great things from you guys as you go forward in your education and graduate. And we got some huge problems, obviously, in this world that need to be solved. And I truly believe that they will be solved through greater collaboration and, learning how to do that, not just learning how, the technology and behind solving these problems, but being able to articulate them, agree on solutions, put them into practice. And that's what I hope your generation will bring to this world, and find solutions that will benefit all mankind, and not just keep the rich getting richer and have this terrible imbalance that we have now, because there's really plenty for everybody. And we just need to find those solutions and put them there. I think the solutions are there. We just need to find a way to really get them implemented. I've heard it said that there's enough food for everybody on this planet. The problem is distribution. And if we really wanted to get everybody fed well, we could. So we're just not focusing on the right problems and bringing the right solutions. So I hope that your generation will be able to solve these problems. So thanks again for joining me. And I hope we'll somehow stay in touch. Good luck in your final studies and in your future careers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I mentioned in the video, the article I was talking about I only have a hard copy, so I can't share a link to it, but you could look up the author. His name is, well, actually the author was Allison Kaplan, but it was based on an article called The Next Generation Gap. And it was the author of a new book, and the person who specializes in the study of this generation or different generations. And his name is David Stillman. I'll put a link, or I'll put his name in the description of this video. So thank you for listening. If you like this video and you'd like to get more, please subscribe. Check out some of the other videos on the channel that you see appearing right now, or the one that's recommended for you. I'd like to thank my clients for supporting me so I could bring these videos to you. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon.